Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. Hello dear students, I hope you're all doing well. Welcome to another video from your channel Easy Chemistry for All. This is Mr. Muad and I welcome you again. Thank you for your subscribing, thank you for sharing the videos, for commenting, for liking the videos. Hopefully you can press a like now before we continue. That wouldn't take you more than 1 second. And please feel free to subscribe as well if you hadn't done so, and share it with your friends so that hopefully many more students can benefit from these videos, guys. Thank you very much for your support. Okay, so now we go to a new chapter, which is the mole. Okay, so now we enter the chapter of the mole, all right? And we'll start with lesson 1, which is called measuring matter. Okay, قياس المادة. So we'll be dealing with calculations in chemistry. Okay, الحسابات، كيف نحسب كمية المادة، كيف نحسب عدد الذرات, how to calculate the number of atoms, how to calculate the amount of substances and so on. Okay, so what are the learning outcomes of this lesson? First, you will learn to explain how a mole is used to indirectly count the number of particles of matter. Particles اللي هي الجسيمات. ممكن تكون ذرات, ممكن تكون أيونات, ممكن تكون مركبات. Okay, we'll see what it means shortly. But we use something called the mole to count the number of atoms because we cannot see atoms with our eyes, right? Relate the mole to a common everyday counting unit. So we actually use some units, وحدات قياس, to count things in our everyday life, okay? And we'll see that as well. And finally we'll convert يعني تحويل between moles and the numbers of representative particles. Okay, and we'll see what that means. So guys, we use these things every day, right? Not every day, but most of the days we use, especially in school, we use paper, you wear socks, you use pencil or pens, you might eat eggs for breakfast. If it's very cold, you might wear gloves, right? So let me ask you, how many eggs do we have here? How many paper sheets? How many socks? And how many gloves? So for paper sheets, usually the bag has 500, right? The eggs here we have 12. Socks we have 2, gloves we have 2, pencils I don't know how much, but we'll see. So how can we group these large numbers in words? For example, instead of saying 500 paper sheets, can we have a different unit for this number? And the answer is yes. So 12 eggs, we can say dozen eggs. درزنة, صح؟ يعني 12 means dozen. 500, we actually can say for it ream of paper sheets. So ream means 500. What about 2? You should know this. 2 is pair, زوج, pair of socks, right? So we use these words to describe numbers, right? And that's what we are going to use in chemistry. To describe the number of atoms, we will use a word as well, okay? So what is our focus question? Why is it useful to group large numbers of things into a word, a single word or a simple word, okay? So for example, atoms, molecules, ions, we have millions and millions of these, right? How can we say these numbers? It's very difficult. So instead we use a simple word to describe these large numbers, okay? So how do chemists count atoms, ions and molecules? كيف نحسب عدد الذرات, الأيونات وهالأشياء? This is the main idea. So chemists use the mole to count atoms, molecules, ions and formula units. Remember formula units اللي هي ionic compounds. All right, So chemists use the mole to count atoms, molecules, ions, and formula units. Okay. So what about the keywords? So first of all, particles. This is very important. You will see it a lot. Particles اللي هي الجسيمات. البارتيكلز ممكن يكون عندها أكثر من معنى. Can have more than one definition. It can mean atoms. It can mean ions. It can mean molecules اللي هي covalent compounds. It can mean formula units. Okay. Mole. What is mole? Okay. This is the symbol. Okay, we'll see it in the next chapter, inshallah. So the mole is the the SI unit, okay, or the SI base unit used to measure the amount of a substance. وحدة قياس المادة. وحدة قياس كمية المادة. This is the mole. So it's the base unit to measure the amount of a substance. هذه الوحدة, okay? So remember pair means 2, right? So mole also has a number here, and we'll see it. So Avogadro's number is the number of particles in 1 mole of any substance. So 1 mole is actually this number, guys. 6.02 times 10 to the power 23. Like dozen equals 12, right? يعني إذا عندنا 12 حبة من أي شيء نقول dozen. إذا عندنا 6.02 times 10 to the power 23 of any particle, we call that 1 mole. So Avogadro's number is the number of particles, عدد الجسيمات الموجودة في مول واحد من أي مادة, and this is the number 6.02 times 10 to the power 23. Okay. So chemists use moles to indirectly represent. So the chemists in general, they use mole to directly represent the amount of substance اللي هي كمية المادة. Okay? So this is what I was talking about. We have millions and millions of particles, so we usually use the moles to count or measure the amount of substances. Okay? نستخدم المول لحساب كمية المادة. So what did scientists do? كيف هم عرفوا المول؟ كيف اجى تعريف المول؟ They measured 12 grams of carbon 12. Do you know carbon? Yeah. They measured 12 grams of the carbon and they count the number of atoms there. The number of atoms that was counted is equal to 1 mole. So 1 mole is the number of atoms in 12 grams of pure carbon. شو معنى هالكلام؟ ذرة الكربون the element carbon, عنصر الكربون حسبوا منه 12 grams. خذنا 12 grams منه. Okay? Counted the number of atoms. من خلال التجارب حسبوا عدد الذرات اللي فيه. This number of atoms equals to 1 mole. يعني أخذ 12 جرام من ذرة الكربون. اوكي، وزنوا 12 جرام من ذرة الكربون، حسبوا عدد الذرات اللي فيها وقالوا هذا العدد تبع الذرات راح نسميه 1 mole. تمام؟ That's exactly what happened. By experiment من خلال التجارب لقوا إنه عدد الذرات في ال 1 mole is 6.02 times 10 to the power 23. Okay? So that's what they found out. And they called it Avogadro's number. So the number of atoms in 1 mole is called Avogadro's number. So 1 mole is equal to 6.02 times 10 to the power 23. This is very important. 1 mole equals 6.02 times 10 to the power 23 particles. ما يهمني. Atoms, molecules, formula units, it doesn't matter. But you need to know this, okay? So what is Avogadro's number? It is 6.02 times 10 to the power 23. Okay? الحين, we actually finished half of the lesson. what are the main calculation types here؟ شو هم المسائل اللي راح تجينا تسألنا أو أنواع المسائل. First, how can we find the number of moles from the number of particles? So given, okay, number of particles will unknown number of moles. Tamam? This is one type of the calculation. The other type is how can we find the number of particles from the number of moles? يعني given, okay, is the number of moles will unknown is the number of particles. عكس اللي فوق. Okay? There are many ways to do this, guys. Okay? There are many ways to do this, guys, and one of the ways is to remember conversion factors. Okay? So a conversion factor is a ratio of equivalent values used to express the same quantity in different units. طبعا this is a little bit complicated, but I'm going to show you. For example, ال1000 متر فيه 1 كيلومتر صح؟ This is a conversion factor. One day has 24 hours. This is a conversion factor. يخليك تحول الأيام لساعات أو الساعات لأيام. 1 minute is 60 seconds. Right? 12 pieces is 1 dozen. Now, this is what we want. 6.02 times 10 to the power 23 is 1 mole. فإذا أعطانا عدد المولات and we want to find the particles, we can use this. Sometimes we'll multiply by it, sometimes we'll divide, okay? So if I ask you, how many atoms are in 2 moles of carbon? Okay? If we ask, how many atoms are in 2 moles of carbon? الحين بالنسبة لي, I like to do it using math. I like to, first of all, what do you know? You should know that 1 mole equals 6.02 times 10 to the power 23 atoms. هذا اللي نعرفه لازم نكون حافظين صح؟ هو شو يقول لك؟ يقول لك if you have 2 moles, how many atoms will you have? So نسوي ضرب تقاطعي, cross multiplication, multiply by this, okay? And then divide. So it will be 2 times 6.02 times 10 to the power 23, which is going to be atoms. Easy, very easy. This is like grade 7 problem or grade 6 problems, okay? So basically, if you want the number of atoms will be equal to moles يعني إذا الضرب التقاطعي بالنسبة لكم صعب, the number of atoms, okay, is going to be equal to moles times 6.02 times 10 to the power 23. اللي هو سويناه هني, شفتوا؟ ضربنا المولات في 6.02 times 10 to the power 23. If you want the moles, it's going to be the atoms divided by 6.02 times 10 to the power 23. هذه إذا أنتم تتلخبطون في الحسابات, you can memorize this and it will be easy for you. Let's see an example. How to change from moles to particles. So given moles will unknown the particles. So we use this. For example, number of molecules, يريد يحسب number of molecules in 3.5 moles of sucrose. Remember, قلت لكم أنا in number of atoms, molecules, whatever, شو بيكون؟ المولز ضرب 6.02 times 10 to the power 23. So basically that's what they did. They multiplied this by 6.02 times 10 to the power 23. هم يستخدمون هذا الconversion factor, okay, which allows you to نحذف المول مع المول, اللي هي الطريقة اللي تكلمنا عليها قبل شوي. I said 1 mole equals 6.02 times 10 to the power 23 molecules, right? So 3.5 mole is equal to how much? So you multiply this and you divide by this. يعني 3.5 mole times 6.02 times 10 to the power 23 divided by 1, لأن نقسم على الواحد صح؟ هني مول وهني molecule. المول يروح مع المول. في النهاية هي هاي ضرب هاي. في أكثر من طريقة. هذه طريقة الكتاب conversion factors. I like to use math, cross multiplication, الضرب التقاطعي, or you can use these equations if it will help you ما تتلخبط هل نضرب هل نقسم. Okay, so there is more than one way. Now الحين what they want, they give you the number of molecules. أعطينا عدد الذرات أو الموليكيولز, وشو يريدون number of moles. Okay, they want the number of moles. So basically العكس, أنا عندي 1 mole gives me 6.02 times 10 to the power 23. الحين هو شو يريد المول. We don't know the moles, right? And what did they give me? 2.11 times 10 to the power 24 molecules. فأضرب هاي وبعدين أقسم هني. So it will be 2.11 times 10 to the power 24 times 1 mole over 6.02 times 10 to the power 23. اللي هي نفسها هني. شفتوا؟ هم قسموا هاي على هاي ومضروبة في واحد. أو نسوي المعادلة. قلنا الاتومز equals moles equals atoms over 6.02 times 10 to the power 23. هو شو عاطيني هني؟ ما تفرق كلمة الاتومز الموليكيولز, هي كلها particles على حسب السؤال. إذا السؤال أعطاك molecules هني نكتب molecules, إذا أعطاك ions نكتب ions, إذا أعطاك formula units نكتب formula units. ما تفرق. Okay, it just depends on the question. So here molecules, because in the question they said molecules. So it will be 2.11 times 10 to the power 24 over 6.02 times 10 to the power 23. هذا الشيء هو نفسه اللي هني. لما نضرب في واحد ما تفرق, هي نفسها. بعدين تقسيم هذا الرقم, ما هي هاي نفسها تقسيم هذا الرقم, هاي هني هي نفسها تقسيم هذا الرقم. ففي أكثر من طريقة عشان الحل. So you choose the one that will help you solve questions. Okay. So for example, here they are saying calculate the number of moles of zinc that contains 4.5 times 10 to the power 24 atoms. So for me, this is the best way I like to solve it. I would say 1 mole equals 6.02 times 10 to the power 23. هم قال لك شو calculate the number of moles, يعني يريدون المولز. This is what I don't know. So I'll come here and I will write X. I don't know the moles here. And they give me the number of atoms, which is 4.5 times 10 to the power 24. This is atoms. This is atoms. So what I like to do, I'll just do cross multiplication. أضرب هاي في هاي وبعدين الناتج أقسمه على this. Or you can say that moles equals atoms divided by 6.02 times 10 to the power 23 اللي هي نفسها حتعطينا نفس المعادلة هني. So this divided by this, and the answer will be 4.5 times 10 to the power 24 over 6.02 times 10 to the power 23, and then you will get 7.47 mole. Okay. Yeah, so basically 4.5 times 10 to the power 24 over 6.02 times 10 to the power 23. Yes. Yep. Okay. So how many water molecules are in 2 moles of water? So they want the water molecules, right? So molecules equals moles times 6.02 times 10 to the power 23. So you just multiply that, it will give you this answer. It's 2 times 6.02 times 10 to the power 23, and you'll get 1.2 times 10 to the power 24. 10 trillion DNA molecules is equal to how many moles of DNA? So remember that trillion. What do we mean by trillion, guys? Okay, so trillion is equal to 1 times 10 to the power of 12. في 12 زيرو. البليون فيه 9 أصفار. المليون فيه 6 أصفار. Okay, so they're saying you have 10 trillion. What does this mean? It means 10 times 10 to the power of 12. يعني 10 to the power of 13 molecules. يقول لك how many moles is that؟ يعني يريد المولز. So moles equals molecules على 6.02 times 10 to the power 23, which will be هذا الرقم اللي هني over 6.02 times 10 to the power 23, which is going to be 6.02 times 10 to the power 23, which would be 1.66 times 10 to the power minus 11 moles. And the answer is actually this one. Okay? So, zinc is used to form a corrosion inhibiting surface on galvanized steel. It doesn't matter. What matters here is determine the number of zinc atoms in 2.5 moles. So, this is the unknown and this is given. So, we want to go from moles to particles. أعطينا المولز ونريد نروح للparticles. So, الparticles equals moles times 6.02 times 10 to the power 23. لاحظوا أنا كل مرة أحل بطريقة غير so that you know that all are the same. So it's equal to 2.5 times 6.02 times 10 to the power 23, and it would be 1.505 times 10 to the power 24 atoms. ليش atoms؟ لأنه في السؤال they give me atoms. You can practice these problems, guys. We solved number 1. You can practice these problems, okay? And you'll find the solution in here. تمام؟ You'll find the solutions here. So in summary, you should remember that 1 mole is equal to 6.02 times 10 to the power 23. The mole is used to calculate the amount of substance. Okay. You should also remember that moles help us count particles. Okay. بدل ما نقول يعني بدل ما نقول إنه عندنا مثلا 1.5 times 10 to the power 25 atoms، بدل ما نقول هذا الرقم الكبير ممكن بس نقول إنه في مثلا إذا حولناه للمول it's going to be ممكن نقول له مثلا عندنا 25 مول. اوكي إذا حولناه للمول بالطريقة اللي كنا نسويها الحين we can just say that we have 25 moles, so it's easier. it's easier ان احنا نقول المول بدل ما نقول هذا العدد من الذرات. Okay, and that's the end, guys. Thank you for watching the video. Please like the video, comment if you have any comments, share it with your friends, subscribe if you hadn't done so, and yeah, that's it. See you in the next video, inshallah. Take care.